Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the public, and I am reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. Now, tonight, we're going to be discussing one of my favorite authors' books of all time, John Berendt, who wrote Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. He wrote the book, and he has a film. And I dressed as if I was going to the garden of Good and Evil in Savannah, Georgia. So it's a little, I don't know, maybe like the voodoo priestess or the crazy lady that dressed so wild at his parties, but I just had fun with it. So hi, Lovelace. Hi, Wandra. Hi, Ruthie. Hi, can you all see me? Anyway,
I yes, beautiful.
Huh? Go ahead. What'd you say?
Beautiful.
Oh, I changed my hair color today on a whim, and I decided I was going to do a new spring summer look. So I went with shades of purple. But before I start, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got to meet John Berendt. Years ago, when I was at Barron's Books in Longview, Texas, I was the children's manager, but I used to help with events. And one of the books that I had read was Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and it had just come out. It was really hot. So we decided that we were going to have an event on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday in Savannah, and we got the local community theater players to come in and portray the characters. And we were serving all kinds of things from Savannah, like the little cheese biscuits and we found a punch the Chamber of Commerce recommended. And we just had them walking throughout the store, and we had ordered in books, and I think we got them autographed. Well, what had happened prior to the event, John Berendt heard about the event that we were doing and wanted to know if he could come. So the author was in attendance. We sold a zillion copies of the book. And not only did we do that event, I took him on to Jefferson, Texas, and we did an event at the big Twin Oaks plantation just outside of historic Jefferson. And we invited everybody in town to come to this Midnight in the Garden. And we had wine and refreshments, and it was just lovely. And that's how I got to meet John. And he rode with me to Jefferson because I got him a bed and breakfast to stay in while he was staying there. And after he'd been there, he called me back and he said, I don't know, there's something about your stories that you're telling me, Kathy. He goes, I feel like maybe I should come back and look and see if Jefferson might be a place for my next book. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because Midnight in the Garden went New York Times. And I don't know if you know what that did for Savannah, but it actually increased their tourism like 4 times. And people are still going on the Midnight in the Garden tours. So we became friends, and he came back and he stayed for an entire week with me. Now, I won't give away the place of where I had him stay the next time, but I had previously done another event in Jefferson with an author who had written a book, a time travel novel about a woman who went back in time to the time of when Diamond Bessie was murdered in Jefferson. It was the turn of the century when Jefferson was in his heyday, and she was murdered by the Cincinnati jeweler who brought her to town. So it was this wonderful book, and we did this big book signing on the porch of one of the homes, and I had a party for her, invited all the Garden Club ladies and my friends, and this woman who came. She was on the National Preservation of Historic Places in Savannah. I did not know that she was on the board, and I didn't know that until I had the local doctor's wife ask me what was a great read to read besides the book that we were reading. And I said, well, I just read a book set in Savannah called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And this woman jumps up that just lived down the street from me in this beautiful Victorian home. And she goes, that book is a travesty. All of Savannah society is in an uproar about that book. And she picked up her handbag and her gloves and she stomped out in her stiletto heels. And we all just sat around, and everybody just kind of pounced on me and they said, how do we get a copy of that book? Well, when John came back, I arranged for him. That woman, 2 days later, I get a call from one of the men that was at this party. And he said, oh my God, Kathy, you've killed that woman. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, she had a heart attack and died after that party you had. I go, what? What are you talking about? He was teasing me, of course, but she did. She died. And some people bought it from her home from Dallas. And that was where I arranged for John Berendt to stay when he came the second time. So when I went to get him the next day, I had set up interviews with all these people in town that he wanted to know the story, the history of Jefferson and everything. And when I came to get him, he goes, and he's from New York. Has a very dry sense of humor. You never see him smile or laugh, but he's wickedly funny. And so he said, my God, where have you put me up? And I said, what? He goes, this place is haunted. He goes, I was up all night long. He goes, there was all kinds of things happening in this house. And then I told him the story and he goes, well, no wonder, no wonder. So anyway, he stayed all week and we did all kinds of crazy things. We took a steamboat ride down Caddo Lake. We went horseback riding down the bayou, down in the bottomlands. And one of the interviews I set him up with, I found the photo. I have lots of photos, but this is the only one I could find. Lady Bird Johnson was raised right there just outside of Jefferson in Karnak. And then when she was later in high school, they moved to Jefferson and they lived in the Taylor house. And Lady Bird's niece lived at the White House during the Lyndon Johnson thing. And she was always, and I become friends with her. So I had arranged for John to, oh gosh, let me see, John to interview her about Lady Bird and all this. And there they are in front of a local attorney's office in Jefferson, Texas. But we had a wonderful time and we became friends. And so through the years, when I go to New Orleans for the Tennessee Williams, I was an opening speaker and ended up being the closing speaker. He was there and we all went to dinner and we, just kept in touch. And then he decided that he was going to set his next book in New Orleans. And he came to Girlfriend Weekend and talked all about it. And it involves the BP oil spill. So I have been trying to get a hold of him and I have not been able to get a hold of him, but I heard that he was going on a trip to the Orient. I don't know where he was going, but anyway, I'm hoping he'll see this and go, my God, Kathy, what are you doing? So he came to Girlfriend Weekend and that was the last time I saw him in Jefferson. Then that Mardi Gras, which was right after that, he invited me to come down because he had rented a apartment on the fourth floor down in the quarter. And he said, I'm having a Mardi Gras party and we're going to watch the parade from the balcony. And it was so cool, you guys, because I was with my co-host, also came at the time was Robert Hicks and his mom. And then my ex-husband and we walked to the place. And as we were going up the stairs, coming down the stairs was the actor Steve Zahn. I don't know if you know him. He starred in That Thing You Do in Tresemme, and he was carrying the garbage out. And I was just like, oh my gosh, wonder who else lives in this building. But when we went to the top, Robert Hicks was there from Nashville. There were a lot of people that I knew there, but the person that was there that I'll never forget, and I didn't have enough nerve to go up to her and talk to her, was the darling woman who is in all the Christopher Guest films and played the manicurist in the Legally Blonde series, where they snap and where she did the thing. If you've seen the movie, she's hilarious. I just saw her in another movie recently, but she was in Best in Show and a lot of Christopher Guest films. So I felt like I was with another world, because a small town little Kansas girl, and here I am with people from New York and the Society of New Orleans and actors and everything. It was so much fun. But I have I watched the film again today. In fact, the end of it is just playing, and it all just came flooding back to me, all the wonderful times that we had. And hopefully I'll be seeing him again, and hopefully he'll finish this book. But I know that some of you have not seen the book, seen the movie, but may have read the book, or may have not read the book and seen the movie. Did you get to see it, Ruthie, at all? The movie? Yes?
I watched the movie yesterday. I had not read the book.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit different, and it's okay if I tell you what's different about it. In the main thing, this book set a lot of precedent when it came out, because it's a true story, but the dialogue was fictionalized. A lot of and things were moved around to make the flow of the story go faster. And it was a new genre in nonfiction, fiction writing. They called it faction. And it was so popular that when it came out, the last I heard, it was like in the 114th printing. Can you imagine? I've never seen anything like it. And that was printed by Vintage, which was a imprint of Random House. And the other thing, John graduated from Harvard with a divinity degree. And why he got into writing this story, it's just so bizarre. But what is amazing about his book, and I've only known two people in my entire years of running my book club and all my years in book publishing to ever have a book that was published verbatim. But Midnight in the Garden was published word for word, not one word of editing. The man is brilliant. And he is the funniest guy. You'll never see him laugh, but he can make me laugh harder. There's so many stories I'd like to tell, but I'm going to have to do those at a later date, because I just, I don't have his permission to tell him, but I can tell you that he had a sardonic wit, and he always would make me laugh so hard that I'd spit my wine across the table, or he'd kick me under the table because I'd be laughing. We just had some great adventures. I just absolutely adore him. And the movie was so different, and I love Southern Gothic. And I'm a big Tennessee Williams fan, and a big fan of New Orleans, and I'd never been to Savannah. But have any of you been to Savannah and gone to the home? Have you done it? Tell us about it, Ruthie.
Well, I haven't been to the home. I've just toured Savannah several times. So it was a real, the feel of it. But I haven't gone on that tour, no.
Well, they've done a lot of movies in Savannah, in the park, and the house has been in lots. In fact, ironically, my sister and her husband were there when they were filming it. And they got to see the actors and them set up in front of the house and everything. They watched it for a long time. But the craziest story is when John Berendt came to my girlfriend weekend in Jefferson, I have an author silent auction, and I ask all the authors to donate something that ties in with their book. He comes in with a satchel, a shoulder strap satchel, and he said, I've autographed this for you, and how it ties in with my book is this is what I carried for the 7 years that I was in Savannah writing the story. And then when John Cusack played him in the film, I loaned it to him to use to keep it as authentic as possible. And John Cusack did a really, really, I think, outstanding job portraying him. But the difference between the book and the film, the major difference is in the film, John Berendt has a love interest in a girl in the film, and that was nothing like the book. But the Lady Chablis, the man walking the servant that still walked the man's dog that died, the story of the bulldog that's the Georgia mascot, all those stories are true. The Lady Chablis, I had her book and I was looking for it to see, because I was trying to find out. I had my copy here, And, we had him right when this book made the New York Times bestseller. And it's signed by John Berendt. And this was 95, May 20th of 95. And I was looking at the printing of it. I mean, this was the very beginning. It's not the first printing. So even though I ordered it right when it wasn't the first printing, but I keep looking. Sometimes you can find first printings in sales and stuff, but after it was over, I had somebody come into the bookstore and they said, I understand you had John Berendt here. Does anybody have a signed copy? My wife really wants it. And I said, no, I have one, but it's personally signed to me. And he said, how much? And he pulled out a roll of $100 bills. And you have to remember, I was working in a bookstore, just a little over minimum wage, but books mean the world to me, and autograph books mean the world to me. And he starts throwing hundreds down, and he got to like 700 of them, and everybody's elbowing me and saying, take it. And I didn't take it because this was my friend. Books mean more to me than money. It's actually now become a part of my story too. So my library is filled with all these authors' books and autographs. And I actually got connected with John Berendt through Pat Conroy, because John had interviewed Pat Conroy for Southern Living magazine. It was a big story. And I'll tell you, that was a fun time to be in book selling, because people loved to come to book signings. They really supported the authors. They were really reverent at the book signings, that everybody would buy the books. And I'm afraid, those golden days of book selling, when independent bookstores would have these events, I don't think they'll ever quite be the same. But I am very happy. I even had people, everybody knew how much I loved him. They would give me, this came with little biscuits. They were little cheese biscuits or something. Somebody gave this to me. It was called Midnight Cookies. Of course, the cookies are all gone. And I have several other things. I don't have the little girl in the garden with the weights, that was already in the cemetery, and it just fascinated. That's why they decided to use that statue. And it's probably, to me, this may be the best book cover I've ever seen, because it pretty much tells a story in one picture, and it comes from the Bible. So people go, what a beauty, it really draws you in. But Midnight in the Garden, but doesn't everything always seems like it comes back to a biblical story or something? But it was a fascinating tale, and the only way you can really experience it is just to sit down, make you a mint julep or something, and just revel in this. It's a great Sunday afternoon movie to watch. I've seen it a zillion times, and it's got Kevin Spacey plays Jim Williams, it's got John Cusack, and it's got, I believe, I'm trying to think, I think it was Clint Eastwood who directed this film.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood directed and produced
the girl, the girl interest in it was his daughter of John. And also, this, I think they used a lot of kind of locals as extras and everything in it, but they've done a lot of films in Savannah. And since then I've been there, and it's just exactly, I think they did part of Forrest Gump in Savannah, or Charleston, one of the two. But Charleston, Beaufort, and Savannah are used in just about every Southern movie you've ever seen. The Big Chill, Forrest Gump, it's a movie. It's just wonderful. But the interesting thing is, the guy who wrote the screenplay is from Longview, Texas, originally. Now, what are the odds, you guys? And I just still can't believe that, every once in a while, just out of the blue, he would call me. And I just think, I realized that having a reading life can really connect you with people you never dreamed that you would ever meet. And he's just as lovely as, but I don't think people here quite knew what to think about him, because he's a listener. And he goes, I went there and I was telling them I was writing a magazine story, and then I was going to write a book, but I just didn't tell them really anything about, much about me. And he goes, when you go to interview anybody, if you just wait, if you just have those awkward silences, people will tell you everything. So he said, when he'd ask a question they wouldn't answer, he'd just sit back and pause and wait. And then they just spill their guts. And I said, well, that's good to know, because he goes, they don't like the awkward silence. So he would get the stories out of the lady Chablis and the lady with the chicken bones and all that stuff that did the readings, and the Joe Odom, who was this crazy, everybody loved Joe Odom, but he was just a shyster, man. He was always doing something that was totally not above board. And the piano player, the older woman that was the piano player, it's a fascinating story. And the fact that the house was once owned by Johnny Mercer's parents. I believe Johnny Mercer was the big songwriter of the, was it 30s and 40s, that wrote all the wonderful ballads you see in movies back in the classic movie time. There's a lot of history in all these connections, but he was meticulous about researching all of this and going through the court records and everything. It just always, I just thought to become a writer like him, was just like unattainable. And I remember when my book came out, I asked him if he would read it, and he said, absolutely. And I said, what do you think of it? And he said, I think, what was your goal in writing this book? And I said, that I get people excited about reading. He goes, you accomplished your goal. You should be proud of your work. It's perfect. I go, you who graduated from Harvard, published a book without one bit of editing. I had like 30 edits, you all, on my book. He goes, Kathy, I'll blurb your book. And I got John Berendt and Pat Conroy. I got 66 people to blurb my first book. And I'm still kind of amazed by that. I may be, the Guinness Book of World Records for the most blurbs, but a lot of people I would ask, but a lot of people volunteered. And so my advice to authors is ask. I mean, all they can do is say no. And if they say no, well, I understand you're very busy, but thank you. And sometimes they'll even turn around and call you back and say, you know what, I got to think about it. Yes, I will. So be kind, ask for, and I also have another philosophy. Keep asking till they tell you yes. If you say, can you do this? And they'll say no. Well, can you do that? Have something else. Keep offering, keep offering. Well, can you at least send signed book plates? Absolutely. I'll send signed book plates. But I always tried to do it in the same way I would want to be treated myself. And you never burn any bridges, you just be kind. And I have to say, most of the authors like him the bigger they are, it seems like to me, a lot of them super nice. Everybody I've finally got to meet has been very nice. So any comments, Ruthie, since you've seen it, what stood out to you about the acting or the cinematography or the music? Starts out with, and I completely forgotten this, Katie Lang, which is one of my favorite singers of all time, sang the first opening song of the show.
Skylark. Bette Midler does a great rendition of that song too, but it was beautiful. It was really set that sort of jazzy tone. I wonder why they chose that song. It's kind of Skylark, do you have anything to say to me?
It's kind of haunting, and I think everything about that film is a little bit haunting. The way they
haunting, surreal,
way they wielded the
magical.
guns around, and the lady kept the little revolver in her bra. All this stuff was a little dark.
Yeah. So the thing you asked me, I did love John Cusack's performance. I mean, I know him from Chicago and everything, but I just kept saying, wow, he really played it so understated. And I wondered, as you're describing John, he feels like he kind of captured that say very little, observe yourself, try to not judge, just an eyebrow would go up, but nothing very broad in terms
behave yourself. He
Yeah.
must have told Chablis, and she was playing herself in that film.
I know. So when you ask, I mean, I think she bowled me away. Here was a transvestite, not transvestite, transsexual, but she hadn't had the surgery. They filmed this in 1997, so 25 years ago, and she was amazing. I mean, she
owned it.
She was brilliant, really brilliant in it, and how brave and bold for her, not only to do the role as herself. She did it as herself.
Who could play her? I mean, she had to play herself. She was fantastic.
Who played Chablis?
Her name is Lady Chablis.
That's her name. She had her name changed to the Lady Chablis, and she wrote a book. It's called Hiding My Candy. And it's
Hiding My Candy.
Hiding My Candy.
As she says, her Tootsie Rolls or whatever.
But she played it very well, but her life was very tragic. And she died very young. I mean, too many years of drugs and
well, I looked her up, and I don't think she died that young. I think she died within 10 years ago. She died.
She wasn't that old. She was
I mean, everything's relative, right? But
yeah, she was
anyway,
only in her 50s, I think.
In her 50s, yeah. But she looked amazing.
That's young to me now. That's really young. I think, wow.
She looked amazing. But okay, so you asked me. So, besides speaking about, the performances, the guy who played the lawyer, he's Australian, the Southern lawyer, the defense attorney, he's Australian, and he's been in so much, so Clint Eastwood did what Clint Eastwood does. It was a long film, over 2.5 hours. And he likes long films, and he dives deep into the story. So for me, the film, it wasn't like the film, it was the story that was grabbing me, and what it meant, like all the polarities, like that woman, they call her the bird lady, standing in the cemetery with 2 bird baths. So maybe that's where Skylark came in, two bird baths in her hands, like Libra, like balancing,
scales, like, weighing the good and the evil,
Yes.
But it was perfectly
balanced. Yes, symmetrical, and the good and the evil, and the right and the wrong, and how the trial was about, so, did he kill in self-defense? Did he not? Even at the end, he says, my truth, my story, you think he revealed something, but when he revealed it to John Cusack, though, he said, so this is the way I figured out I'm going to get out of, being convicted, is because they can't convict me of this crime. But then at the end, you really don't know what true is. And that was the other thing, Lady Chablis.
That's what they were trying to do, is confuse you.
Yeah. And Lady Chablis that was what she said. You know, I'm going to tell you my tea. I'm going to tell you my truth. You know, well, what is truth? And I just felt that, you know, the defense was right and wrong. Look at, you know, do we have judgment about what are all our prejudices? What are all our things? And that we judge immediately. And so for me, I loved the story. I was blown away by all the, you know, about homosexuality, about people that were different. The, you know, the guy that walked the dog that was dead, but with a thing, the guy who was the chemist, I guess in real life, he didn't really have flies around his head, but he was odd. But you know, just a world in which you must pause before you judge. And then of course the lady you're playing right now, you know, the witch, that was what was so cool about her, was she really didn't judge.
Mm-mm.
She really didn't judge.
Mm-mm. I just, there were more characters that he didn't put in the book that I know about. And I'm just kind of like, well, because there's a fine line when you're doing real people of who you can put in there and who might sue. You know, there's a lot of things you have to think about. And he told me about one of them, and it's so bizarre. Someday I'm going to have to write a book just about the stories that authors have told me of behind the scenes thing. But, you know, it's got to be later. It can't be now. In a time of being politically correct, I'd hate to go to the, you know, whatever. I wouldn't want to do anything without
So
permission.
did the author, did John like the movie? Was he pleased with the
This
movie?
is what when I talked to him, when he told me, he said, well, I go, well, who do you want to portray you? He goes, I'm thinking Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt. And I go, wow, John, yeah, no, I can't see either one of them. So when they cast John Cusack, I go, my God, that's perfect. Because John is tall and lanky like the way John was. And I was trying to think about how old John was when he came to Jefferson and we did all that stuff back in the day. I was thinking he was in his late 50s and I was in my early 40s.
Because John Cusack, I think, was 30 when he played the role.
Yeah, he's way, way younger. And so he said, I'm flattered. And he goes, but what do you think about the movie and the love interest and all that? And he said, Kathy, the bottom line is when you sell your book to film, the director, they do whatever they want with it. He goes, it's a money business deal. So you have to let that all go. But he was pretty pleased. I think he was, I don't know. I think he was pretty pleased.
Why do you think they added the love interest? I think I have a sense of.
Well, it could have been because Clint Eastwood wanted his daughter in the film and there wasn't a role for her, you know?
That's possible, yeah. Well,
no, but
the only other thing that I would say is that I felt that the Kevin Spacey, you know, part, I felt that he had a crush on John Cusack. I felt that there was that innuendo there. And I had a feeling that they didn't want to muddy that relationship because John Cusack was very, you know, that character of John.
And John Berendt is very professional too.
Very professional, set the boundaries.
Never, yeah, he set boundaries and he would never, he was a gentleman, I'm telling you, and he is a gentleman.
And so whatever really was, I felt that Eastwood did not want to muddy that. He wanted to stop that in its tracks because he wanted to say that when the writer wrote the book about what he witnessed, that there wasn't any kind of muddy thing around that. That's what I thought.
And I think all directors want to put their own spin on it too. They want to put their mark on it. And there's very few films, To Kill a Mockingbird, Cider House Rules, where the author was involved with the movie. But when they do, it's always perfection as far as I'm concerned. And I think someday maybe that will be more recognized. I know that Before Women Had Wings, which was one of our books by Connie Mae Fowler, she wrote the screenplay for Oprah Winfrey. And I think it made the film that much more powerful. In fact, I need to make that one of our films. Have you seen Before Women Have Wings? I have the movie poster hanging in I have Midnight in the Garden movie poster in my studio. I have a lot of, now I have Betty Davis, but I have, films that were just mean a lot to me, the book posters that were made into film, because they're just part of my story too. And I think that's what happens when we watch these stories. But to me, the best films are the ones not with special effects, not with action and car scenes and bombs. And the best films are the ones where the story is the foundation. And if you have a good story and it's cast well, you can create a masterpiece. And I really do think that's what it is. Now, I have seen some films that really weren't that great, but there was such great acting in it. Some of those actors would win, Academy Awards or even Filmfare Awards in India. But the perfect scenario is when everything comes together. The music scores, the costumes, the authentic costumes, the hair and makeup, I think that's why I'm in love with all these vintage shows. I mean, when I say vintage, period shows, like House of Elliot, Bridgerton, The Gilded Age. I'm watching, it's a beautiful film, Beecham House, a series on India. I'm watching all these shows, but even more contemporary comedy shows like Grace and Frankie and Grace. The timing and the costumes and California, they just nailed it, man. I lived out there for a short time, and that's just exactly the way it was. And it's just one of, and so this right now I'm doing all my favorite films. I did To Kill a Mockingbird, I did Conrack. I've got this one. Next week is The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. Yes, yeah. And then I'm going to do Beasts of the Southern Wild. And I think I'm going to add Before Women Had Wings, because I picked that book in the bookstore when it came in. This girl who wrote it, Connie Mae Fowler, she lived in Alligator Point, Florida, and she was starving. And she went to Kansas University, and her master's thesis was sugar cane, sugar babies. It was a beautiful book. But when she wrote Before Women Had Wings, I called her up and asked her if she could come. And she goes, oh, I don't even know if I could get there. But we got her there. And when she got back home, she called me up and she said, Kathy, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. I just had a movie star call me. And guess who it is? I have no idea, I said, I have no idea. No, come on, you're going to know. And I really didn't. It was Oprah. Oprah called her up at her home and said, listen, I just read your book and I want to make it into a movie. And not only do I want to make it into a movie, I want you to write it. And that girl went from sheer obscurity, poverty, to she's leading writing workshops in and out of the country. Connie is a great writer. And I think that time period that I worked at Barron's, I got to see a lot of really amazing authors like Kay Gibbons and Ellen Gilchrist and John Berendt, and Pat Conroy was really flying high with beach music. And it was a wonderful time. And we're ready. I'm ready for it to happen again. So I'm hoping that when this world opens back up, all of you that have written Sanju and now Lovelace, you've got a book that's coming out.
Yeah, it's in the hands of beta readers. right
Oh my
now.
God, I want to read it so bad. I want to read it so bad because you're perfect to write a book. And this is your first book, right?
You mean other than all the boxes that are in
Yeah.
the closet, all the things that the screenplays that didn't sell, all the boxes, and you know what I mean.
But you know what? You've been building for this.
I
You've been
have.
building for this. And I will do everything I can to help you because you are a storyteller too. And so are you, Ruthie. I mean, Ruthie has become one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world. And she came to one girlfriend weekend and I didn't even spend any time with her because I was really sick at that girlfriend weekend. And I didn't even know it myself because I guess I have a high pain tolerance. But I have been very fortunate. But the thing about it is everybody goes, oh, when am I going to get my big break? I'm going to tell you, I've had lots of big breaks, but it still doesn't mean success. I mean, when Diane Sawyer called me and asked me to be on Good Morning America, I go, oh my God, this is it. When Oprah said, we want to put you on our Oxygen network. And I was on there with Beyonce and I thought, oh my God, I'm famous. Listen, it's fleeting. It happens. But the thing about it that you have to remember, and this is what's going to all be in my next book, it's not those successes that you need to really focus on. What you need to focus on, and that's kind of what I did in my first book. I focused on all those things that I thought were success. What I realize now, it's the journey and the people that I've met in my life of sharing the stories. I mean, I got to know the Conroys, I got to meet, Diane Sawyer had me on the set of Good Morning America. I got to go to the ABC studios. Those are great things, but it's more exciting to me when I hear that Lovelace has got a book coming out, and she does the Bollywood in Books podcast, which is fantastic. And and have you put up the tattoo, the henna artist yet?
Just published it, and I did it in 2 episodes because it was a 30-hour long interview, and I just thought it was so important. And I think after the interview, she and I had a long conversation. We were talking about gray hair, and I said, I just want to be like Lucy Red till I'm dead. And so she said, oh, I think you'd be good with gray hair. She said, I want to do a panel with Wonder Chang, Margaret Atwood, and I cannot remember the 4th person that she said she wanted to do a panel with, which I thought was an amazing thing. Alka Joshi. So, her book, The Henna Artist, will be a Netflix series. It's going to be coming out.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited. That's fantastic. I can't wait. Can I watch it now if I go on your thing when we get done tonight?
Hear it now. You can hear the first half of it. Yeah.
Oh, yay. I live for her podcast because I just love everything about it so much. And I keep meeting more and more people. I'm really loving all my international book club selections because I'm learning about the world, and I realize how stupid I am. I am ignorant on so many things. And I remember when I first saw the Shah Rukh Khan film, I go, I'm going to email him and see if I can get him to come to Girlfriend Weekend. I had no idea that he was like the biggest star in the world. So I'm just emailing away to Red Chili Entertainment and all this stuff. And the more I research, I go, oh, but that's okay because I don't give up. I got the Dolly Parton people here after, I don't know how, ever since she started it, I've been trying to get them to come to Girlfriend Weekend, and I made that happen. And Adriana Trigiani has confirmed that she's keynote at our next book club convention. And we are working really hard we're going to try to make it live. We're going to try to make it live. And I think everybody's going to be very excited about what all we're going to do, because it's Mandy and I are working on it right now. But until we get the venue confirmed and we make sure it's all safe, but hopefully we'll know something before summer. But the price is going up May 1st. So if you haven't got your tickets, you're going to want to. And the reason why is everything's going to be so much higher. I mean, look at the gas right now, you guys. I don't know. I would fill up my car and it was like $25, $30. Not anymore. Every time I go, it's like over 50. And I'm going, whoa. I mean, you know, when you're not working and you're at home and, you know, you get out there, you just don't realize how much everything's gone up. And so, and everything is trickling. Printing is going up. Books aren't being able to get paper to be printed. I mean, it's just like a trickle effect. I was over in Jefferson and one of my friends, they closed their business because all of their manufacturing was coming from China and they didn't get anything for over a year. They had to shut down. It's sad, but our world's going to be different, but it doesn't mean it's going to be worse. It's just going to be different. So I always think positive, and I think that no matter when a book is written, a good book is a good book is a good book. So how many people have probably not read Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil? I was trying to see who blurbed his book. I couldn't remember. He's got, Richard Russo. I can't even read some of these people, but it was, I'm looking to see all the best from, I need my glasses on, but 5/20/95, you guys. 5/20. Isn't that amazing? It's a beautiful book. And I wouldn't part for it for the world, you know. I'd rather give it away to my collection of books to a college library or something, you know, maybe one day all my things can go to some kind of organization like that. But it's a great story. And did either one of you read the book? Did you read it, Lovelace?
I did. It's been a few years. I mean, I was living in LA when that book was.
Oh my gosh, that had to have been quite a different deal if you were in LA. Yeah.
You know, I spent a few years living out there.
Well, it came out in 95 and the movie came out in 97. You know, isn't that amazing? It seems like just the other day, but good grief. No, my daughter in 97, my daughter was 7 years old and she's 32 now, you know, so time kind of gets away from us. But
my memory, because I have these visual images, Jim Williams and the house, and you know, there's some things that stick in my head that I can't. I'm unpacking boxes of books because I've been moving stuff around. I'm sure the book is somewhere that I haven't unpacked again. So I'm trying to think. And I loved the book. I thought it was wonderful, and the ladyship Lee just totally intrigued me. And,
well, it was the first book I ever read about anybody like that. The first book that I can ever remember. I mean, I knew RuPaul. I love RuPaul. I love her. She did a series on Netflix. It was fantastic. I love everything about her. I think she's just an interesting person. I like interesting stories and stories that haven't been told before. So this just fits in with my genre. And well, before any other questions or anything you want to bring up about the film? If not, share news. Let's hear some good news about what's going on in the world of your author books and your story. How's your book coming along, Ruthie?
I'm working on 2 books. So I'm working on a nonfiction and my first novel. And I have, my practice is so full. So it's
hard.
You know, if I didn't sleep, it would be great, but I have to sleep.
I find myself tiring more than I used to. What about you, Wandra? What's new? You still working on the new book?
Yeah, I finished the draft and
Good.
I finished it some time ago. And I wrote the ending paragraph and I liked that very much. I am like 12,000 words short from the length I want it to be.
Yeah.
So, I'll get there. I'm adding little details and stuff. I don't have a lot of scenes there. So it will work. I'm writing it very differently second time.
I think everybody does on their second book because you learn from your mistakes.
Right.
I don't
Right.
really know if it's mistakes or I was
Yeah,
listening to
learning.
an author, a famous author, I can't remember who it was the other day, talking about, she goes, what people need to know is that a book doesn't get written in a year. It takes 5, 6, 7, 8 years on that first book, and nobody tells you don't make any money on it. I can't remember who it was. I listened to the whole thing. I wanted to share it, and I thought that is so important for authors to know. But that's okay. And like people go, when's your next book going to come out? And I go, when it's ready. The first book I had to get out. I was on a contract and I had to get it out, and it ran late. I didn't get it out. It was 6 months later than it should have been out. And because I was raising 2 children, running a business, and I said, I'll never do that again. I'll never send out a proposal and get a contract and then be on contract. I won't even go out until the book's done, because then you're ready. And you will be ready to, Lovelace, when your book comes out. You've got these beta readers and everything. And just remember that it's just one person's opinion. If you really strongly believe in something, stick to your guns. I had people like John Berendt read my book, and Doug Marlette, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning political cartoonist that was Pat Conroy's best friend. And they told me they wouldn't change a thing. And then my friend Christopher Cook, who lives in Prague. It's funny. I had 3 guys helping me with my book. So everybody goes, well, it's a girl book, right? And I go, well, no, because most of my blurbs came from the guy authors that but Christopher helped me get the book finished on time. And I can't, I put him in my acknowledgments and everything because I couldn't. And hopefully he's coming to Texas this summer. Haven't seen him a long time. But, the thing about it is, it's like when I do a painting. I'll think I'm done. I'll sleep on it, get up the next morning and go, no, something needs tweaked. And sometimes that may go on a couple more weeks. And then sometimes it's done. You know it when you know it. And that's.
Kathy, I just want to go back to something you said about success. In Acting Lessons for Living, I talk a lot about what makes you feel you can take a bow at the end of your life. and is it really because of any one given adoration, or is it living in your own personal integrity with your own values? So I look at somebody like you, in my poem in the beginning of Beyond the Book Club, I say that the destination is the journey.
Right.
That's the destination. It's the journey itself. And I look at you and every day I'm looking on Facebook, and you are a hurricane of creativity. and no, I really want you to hear this, because it isn't about the one book. It isn't about the second book. It isn't about it. It's that as in a gestalt, in a whole way, you are living the embodiment of a creative force. And so I think when we, come to the end of our lives, it isn't about one accomplishment. It's about the whole of you. And from where I sit, I don't know, you are a tornado of creativity.
Yep. I'll tell you, I know what a lot of it comes from is because I for a long time, I thought I was going to die. You know, I've had the doctor tell me, you know, I don't know why you're alive. And when you have somebody tell you that, you go, I got to get this all done. I got to get this all done. I cut myself a lot of slack now. People go, you work nonstop. I take a lot of naps. I do. I go, if I get really tired, I take a nap. I mean, I took 35 paintings and installed them over at the gallery. And by the time I got home, I went to bed. Then I had to go back the next day and do the workshop. I came home, I went straight to bed. I really kind of listen to my body now more, telling me what to do. And I don't know how long it's going to go, but I know I heard something and it was in a movie. And this person said, the thing about it is that when it's the end, what you just have to realize is, no, it's not. It's the beginning of something new.
Mhm.
And that just kind of gave me a sense of, I don't know, peace. This COVID time has really made me do a lot of deep thinking, and I hope everybody has. And I think we just needed a timeout where we could all reevaluate what is important in our lives. And I've learned how to say no. No, can't do that. Nope. And I was the person that say, I'll do it. I don't do that anymore. I have learned that, you know, I realize that you would love me to do it, but can't do it anymore. You know, there's only so much you can do. And I love everything that I'm doing right now. And I love all these Zoom things I've created. I had more fun at Mama Cat's book club this morning with Carrie Madden. She got me so excited because she goes, Kathy, if you need children book authors, I know all of them. And she's going to send me a whole list. I go, oh my gosh. And I just confirmed National Book Award winner Kimberly Willis Holt, which was my good friend, that she was the very first author that graced the doors of my Beauty in the Book. And she's going to be coming in September. So I'm pretty excited about all the things that are in the works. I'm excited for all my authors. I think the programs that we're building are a good support group. I think it would be really nice if within our organization, we broke off and started writers groups of just like-minded people, that, because I know Kimberly is in a writers group with Kathy Appelt and all these children's authors. I thought, well, why don't we help people get those set up within, you know, because other people have great insights. But I'm pretty excited today because I got, and I did a special video about it, I got Oliver and my picture today. She had sent me another package and she forgot to put it in. So I'm going to be rereading that. And then I also got one of my good friends. He's with an advertising agency in New York. His name's Will Clark. He was one of my first authors, and he's from Shreveport, and his name's Will Clark. He just sent me his new book. It's called Marigold, and it's got a quote from Michael Platt, who's the executive director of Grace and Frankie, gave it a big endorsement, and so did Rolling Stone, calls it Hot Pop Profit. But it is I started reading it. It's you will not be able to put it down. His last book was Lord Vishnu's Love Handle. No, he wrote another one past that, but Lord Vishnu's Love Handle was a book. And then The Worthy was the first book I ever picked of his, and it was made into a film. So to have him back in the fold is really exciting, and it's about an angel. And, you know, it's so creative. There's nothing, I've never read anything like this book. There is language, and I was going to do a read aloud on the thing today, and I thought, no, I'll let everybody read it for themselves, but it's hysterical. I could not put it down. So lots of great new things coming our way. And I think if we all just stick together and, you know, we're going to grow the Book and Film Club, we're going to grow the Writers Club. Christine Nolfi is going to be on for May. No, wait a minute. maybe not Christine Nolfi. I think it's Alice Early. Alice Early is going to be on for May. But every time we have one of those, I learn so much. I learn so much. And River Jordan is going to be a contributing editor now, not contributing editor, contributing columnist for Reading Nation magazine. And I'm very excited about that. And Mandy and River have known each other for a long time, just like I've known River. She's perfect. She's just perfect. So here we go. And but tell everybody get your package because it's going to be pretty exciting. I'm really excited about it.
I would like to remind you that I won the package
Yes, you
because
did.
for the sexy Robert and I. I hope I get to meet him in person so badly.
Yes, you won. And then I had a Stephanie, oh gosh, what's Stephanie Edwards? I had a Stephanie Edwards something win for the Bookish Road Trip giveaway that I did. So Karen Reed won for the Dolly Parton competition back in 2020. She won a package. So yeah, I sent out a notice. I'll send out a notice to everybody if there's somebody I missed or confirm that you're coming. And Ruthie, you don't have to worry.
I'm so excited. I get to meet people, face to face. That's really exciting.
It's gonna be amazing.
My partner at the last live one was Lovelace. She was my partner. Like I always sat next to her. I just was drawn like a magnet to
The
sitting next to
redheads,
Lovelace.
the redheads were clinging together.
We were.
Energy. So
Well, listen, I just got, are you still thinking about going to India these days, Lovelace?
I would love to. I'm not working, so I'm
I know, me too.
trying to figure out how to generate an income so I can travel, and we'll see.
You get the book out, but it's going to be a while, but I want to go. But Christine Nolfi goes, when you go to India, I want to go. Everybody's saying, when you go there, I want to go. So I think I know there's a group that want to go to Italy, and I know there's a group that want to go to India. So when we do that, we'll all pull resources because group rates are always better than Lovelace. Well, I've got you here. There was an author that sent me a letter that she took her mother to India and she's living at a hotel like the Marigold Hotel. And it's a retirement hotel in India. And she says, just fantastic. And I didn't write it down. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I know that a lot of people, I don't know about Americans, but I know a lot of British people go to Jaipur or Jaipur. I can't.
Well, it's all white. I can see it in my head. And I thought, why didn't I write it down? Because I thought, my God, that's what I'm going to do when I get up in my 90s. I'm just going to move to one of those places in India, and then my kids can come and see me.
Well, I will
say, I want to go. I want to travel, and I definitely want to go there. And tomorrow is my Shah Rukh Khan Devdas watch. I please hope everybody comes because I'm wearing a special outfit tomorrow, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. It's 3 hours long, Ruthie, but it is the most. I told everybody when you watch it, get your Kleenex box out because I'm going to watch it tomorrow morning. That's going to be, it's my favorite film. I'm going to rewatch it, but it is the most beautiful. Mathura Dixit's in it, Shah Rukh Khan, a lot of my favorite actors, and the beautiful Miss India, Miss World is also in it. And she's so beautiful. You can't take your eyes off her eyes, but it is a story like no other. And Devdas, and it is fantastic. And so we're going to be doing that at 4:00 Central Standard Time. And I can talk about it just like I can talk about, if I love a movie, I can just talk about it forever. But it would be more fun if people, jumped in, because I always love your insight because you have it from a theater background, the industry background. I'm just a lay person who just loves films. You know, I'm not an expert on anything, but I did share a few, 2 or 3 new videos today on that page of Shah Rukh Khan with they posted some crazy things today on YouTube that I had to share that were just hilarious. He was evidently did this kind of comedy skit at the Film Fair Awards, and I shared it. And I don't even speak Hindi, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious because you just got to see it, but it's up. And then, you know, if anybody has an idea of a film that they would like to watch, I would love to watch that. You know, I always listen to advice on films to watch, but right now I've got it into, I think, mid-May. So, and then summer, you know, hey, I don't know about you guys, but this is all I do on Saturday night. There's no place to go. So I'll probably continue to do this. It's the perfect thing for seniors, because you know, if you don't go out after dark, it gives you really something to look forward to. I really look forward to tonight. And I woke up really early and I said, I'm going to do something different with my hair. Let's see what color I have in the cupboard. And I just did this today, this morning, and I love it. It'll fade. It's a stain. It's not a, you know, permanent. So every time you wash it, it gets lighter and lighter, and eventually it'll be pale lavender. And then I'll do something else or go back blonde. I just get bored. So anyway, any questions about anything coming up? Or I bet I shared 4 or 5 videos on YouTube today. I did the Mama Cat Book Club. I did the pop-up poetry with Rita Quillen. I did this reading with these 2 books, or showcasing these 2 books. I did the art gallery videos that we did. I still got 2 more to post of those. I have been posting on YouTube for so long. I'm going to have to go back and count to see how many videos that we actually have up on there. But it's getting, I just need to get more people, because we only have 200 people and we have thousands of members and authors now on board. So it's free. All you do is click. I mean, there's nothing to it. And I think you'll find them pretty entertaining. I have people that go back and watch these. Last month, we had 456 new views of our channel, but they're not subscribing. And so I've got to figure out what to do to get them subscribed. You just click that little button. I subscribe to all the ones I like, you know, like Bollywood and stuff. So, and then I'm the first one to see them. So, well, you guys have a wonderful Saturday night. I'm going to go read tonight, and I'm going to go check out, what was that other thing I was going to check out? A movie we mentioned. I can't remember what it was. It'll come to me. But thank you guys for joining me. I really love it when we have more people on board. And Lovelace, when you're ready for me to read it, I'm here, hon. I want to read it. I would love to see, you know, and help you any way on any of you guys' books. You guys are important to me. So have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you later. And it's all about the story. Bye, y'all. Love ya. Bye.